everyone, and thank you for joining us in the Life Goals Masterclass. This is the second webinar of this particular series, and today we are going to be discussing a very, very important subject. We will talk about smart investments for a secure retirement. Retirement, which is perhaps one of the most critical long-term life goals that we all have and that we all should really plan for. We are, of course, bringing you this conversation and the series in partnership with Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. Now, just an opening thought here. The COVID-19 pandemic has taught us a lot. It has made us learn things and unlearn things. And when it comes to the aspect of personal finance, it has made a lot of us question the whole idea of financial security. We've learned that volatility is not just a function of the stock market, it can also be a function of the job market. And many of us would have, of course, had perhaps a dip in incomes, and that could have led to certain gaps in our PF plans, specifically when it comes to long-term goals like retirement planning. So the conversation today is going to center around how we need to look at our asset allocation, our risk profile, and our overall approach to the long-term goal of making ourselves secure when it comes to retirement. What are the best products to track? What are the kind of things to keep in mind? And how do you start depending on your age profile? If you're young and just entering the workforce, then what should the approach be? If you're a middle-aged professional, then what do you need to keep in mind? And if you're someone who's approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, then what are the most important things that you must analyze and go over? Well, joining us to do this is a panel of experts. We have PV Subramaniam, CEO of Subramani. We also have CMA RK Mohapatra, financial expert and author. And we also have with us Tarun Chugh, Managing Director and CEO of Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. Gentlemen, good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for taking out the time. Very important subject, right? Because we got that big pandemic jolt, and that's when a lot of us started looking at our finances and the need to figure out what to cut back on, what to keep on, where the investments need to go, what to do with our policies. So that's what we'll discuss. First thoughts from this panel on what the pandemic has perhaps thrown up. So Tarun, if I could start with you, when you look at your colleagues around, clients around, and the whole environment, perhaps what is that biggest takeaway over the last 10 odd months?
Yeah, Surabhi, that's a very important point, because this pandemic has, of course, moved heaven and earth, and everybody is been caught unawares, and it has kind of given that moment for people to reflect as to how is their financial planning happening. And as a result, what we've seen is that the percentage of money going into risk products has gone up, because people are realizing that they've never done enough planning for their risk covers. And that is what is kind of taking center stage. It has hence resulted in a shift of the kind of products people are now buying. Also, I'm sensing that people are now willing to commit smaller sums, because what I am seeing is that people have now lesser money in hand, because they want to, kind of keep some money for the pot of gold at the end, because they don't want to commit to a lot of financing at this point in time. But whatever they're committing is lower sums, but they're committing for the long term as well, which is a big shift, because usually people are happy with 3 years, 5 years products when it comes to life insurance, usually 5 years. But I'm seeing that the length for which they're investing, the number of risk products that they're investing in is going up. So that's been a good takeaway from the pandemic.
Okay, well, that's the positive outcome, at least in the mayhem that we've seen in the last 1 year. Mr. Subramaniam, let me get your opening thoughts. So what would you say is the biggest feature of this roller coaster?
Actually, if you ask me, we have a much bigger problem than COVID, and that is longevity. And people are seeing funerals happening for 105-year-olds and 108-year-olds. So even a 60-year-old needs to have enough money in equity to last the next 30, 40 years of inflation. So that is putting a scare. And whenever there is such a massive scare, Surabhi, what happens is, for people first rush to take some medical insurance and term insurance. Even when a brother gets a liver failure or a kidney failure, the whole family rushes to take some medical insurance and term insurance. This is very clear behavior of people. They are afraid of something happening to them just when something happens to somebody nearby. So obviously people are buying more medical insurance, people are buying more term insurance, and obviously they will commit less to bigger premium like endowment, simply because they do not know whether next 10, 15, 30 years whether they will be able to pay. People are very, very scared to commit. So you see, real estate is not going up the way people think it should. But yes, the term cover is increasing, medical cover is increasing. So I think insurance companies will do well. And yes, when people get scared, they buy more insurance. There's no doubt about that. So that is happening.
Yeah.
So two things, COVID and longevity, both are going to hurt people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You said it in the simplest and most straightforward terms as possible. When we are scared, we run for cover, literally more cover and better coverage. Mr. Mohapatra, your thoughts on sort of what you see, and specifically with respect to the life insurance sector and how people are now looking at their choices?
Actually, in life insurance sectors, due to COVID, the sale is increasing because people are fear about their what will happen in future. They purchase the life insurance because coronavirus taken all the happiness and ruin the human beings' lives, and this virus also disturb our uh, supply chain, logistics, and suspension of all the operations of the companies. The salary cut and expenditure cut by the companies is badly affected every individuals. So far as retirement plan is concerned, people are unable to pay their regular premium due to the supply of shortage of money. Uh, but as far as insurance is concerned, uh, last 6 months, there is a good market. People are purchasing insurance only because of fears and also thinking that this kind of virus may come again and again to save their life. They purchase the insurance. It is a good for insurance company because they are selling their product, but not for the other people's.
Mm.
Because other people's, due to the disturb of um, money control, people are facing a lot of problems in their daily lives.
But Tarun, just to come back now, in terms of eyeing long-term wealth creation, because the idea here is retirement security. Should one look at retirement plans? And if you could give us some features so people really can understand what this product is all about and what is it that we're signing up for if one is talking about a 30-year-old individual.
Yeah. No, so that's a very critical bit. And I think, in a way, Subramaniam on the side did mention about longevity as a risk. See, I think we should take a step back and think of a 30-year-old. A 30-year-old will possibly work till the age of 58, that's a retirement age, or 60, depending upon which sector you work in, which company you work in. Hence, you will be retiring and you'll be basically earning for 30 years. Now, given the way longevity is going, as in people are living longer now with better health care, better, people are themselves taking care of their own wellness, and the average Indian is now living longer.
Mm.
So that itself, and the way data shows, in fact, the woman is living longer than the man,
Mm.
and which means that people will actually now live 25, 30 years at least post retirement.
Yeah.
So there is no income at that point in time.
Yeah.
So looking at that, the kind of products you need to look at is basically two-phased. One is the accumulation phase, and one is the deaccumulation phase.
Mm.
Now, the accumulation phase products can be ULIP products, can be endowment products, can even be pension products. But the deaccumulation phase, and there is only one product in the world which actually takes care of the risk of living longer.
Mm.
Basically, as long as you are alive, it replaces your income for that
Mm.
amount of period and hedges that risk. And
Mm.
India does not have any social security.
Yeah.
That product, therefore, is the annuity product.
Yeah.
And you have to therefore have an accumulation phase at the age of 60, at 30. So by the time you hit 55, 60, then you should put that money into an annuity. Now you could do it through various spots of accumulation products, which could be
Mm,
usually a ULIP or an endowment or a pension plan, and
mm,
then let that money move to an annuity, which hedges the risk of living longer. Now, nobody knows. That's the beauty of life. Whether you live till
yeah.
75, or you live till 85, or you live to 105.
Mhm,
So, so I mean, if somebody is going to live till 105, how is the person going to feed himself for 45 years? And the other
mm,
bit around this is the quality of life.
yeah.
Normally you would see that as we all get a little older, hopefully we are getting a little richer, a little
Mm,
better in terms of income. So you would have your best car, you would have your best house, you would have your best services when you're in the 45 to 60. And I've seen it, so I can tell you myself that usually is the time you start, you're in the pink of health, you're earning the best then. You get
yeah.
used to that kind of living style. So
Yeah.
you do want that kind of income has to keep coming in
Mm,
the future. Of course, your liabilities come down because maybe
mm,
by that time your children are on their own feet, but
mm,
you would have to fend for your own needs, and those
mm.
needs peak out at that time. So if
Sure.
you're driving a good car and you've got a driver and you
Mm,
got help at home and so on and so forth, you would like to
mm.
continue with that, and that
Absolutely.
has
Yeah.
expenses, and those
Yeah.
expenses need to be covered for a longer time, the
Yeah.
risk of living longer, and that is through an
Mm.
annuity.
So Tarun, you gave us a couple of options. I mean, there's ULIP, there is the endowment plan, and then there is the pension plan. So demystify these for us, and specifically, is a pension plan a type of ULIP? And what are the features, the pros and cons of each?
Yeah. So see, the ULIP is basically something which you carry the risk of the markets, and you also get the benefit of that. And there's no returns without some risks. So
Mm,
if I was 30, and let me just kind of make it easy and not get theoretical. So at the age of 30, I would actually put money in all of equity, or maybe
mm,
100% would be equity in a unit-linked plan.
yeah.
And similarly, in a pension plan, which nowadays tends to mirror a unit-linked plan, you can
Mhm,
pretty much invest all of that into equities as well. But then,
mm,
as I start, reaching the age of 50 and 60, depending upon my other savings that I have. So suppose I have rental income coming in, or I have my own house in place, maybe I could have more equity. But if I don't have any of the other income, then maybe I'll start looking at a time when, in the accumulation phase, I bring down the volatility of my portfolio by having
mm,
lesser
mm.
equity in either a ULIP plan or a pension plan.
Pension plan.
And just to demystify the endowment plans have a substantial amount of government securities that they invest in. Almost 50% goes into GSEC. So the
Yeah.
debt portion in endowment is pretty high. But now
Mm,
you do see endowment plans that we have, for example, which have up to 20 to 30% equity as well. So you get a balanced portfolio
okay.
within that as well.
Okay, all right. So got that. There you go. That's a lot of information that you can process along with your advisor and then decide what perhaps suits your needs. Now we're talking about people who are, between 40 to let's say 50, 55 years of age. They've already had, a journey of accumulation, but then they also have other needs, other requirements. They're also paying loans, for instance, servicing their EMIs. Now, Tarun, let's put this group in context in terms of the pandemic. Now, this is a group which has had to do a lot of balancing in between different sort of requirements and perhaps limited income streams as well. So you mentioned this earlier. Is this typically where that asset allocation decision has to be made? And what's the advice you'd give to this age group when it comes to life insurance?
Yeah. No, you're right. Asset allocation here should be a little less riskier versus, let's say, 25-year-old. I'm just saying that because we are moving in a sequential manner and looking at age as a factor. Although, I mean, the fact that somebody is going to live long enough nowadays, you can still have a significant amount of equity in your investment products. So that's at like a 3,000 feet, just some basic advice. And this could be spanning various products. So you should have a good amount of equity in your various schemes, and this is available in ULIPs. This is available in endowment plans to a certain amount as well, and it's available in pension plans as well. Then, of course, you should revisit the amount of term cover that Mr. Subramani and Mr. Mohapatra also talked about. Uh, the amount of cover at this point in time has to go up. So by this time, I'm assuming you have 2, 3 other liabilities. So you've invested in a house and you have your mortgage, and at the same time, you now have family with children. And now you need to think through what is the amount of cover you require. That is a tricky one. So your cover should at least cover for the asset cost. So your mortgage should be entirely covered comfortably. At no point in time, if in your absence, should your family have to, pay for that mortgage. The second is maybe a 5 to 10 year salary income in terms of, in case you're not there, for your family, which should include the costs of education, the cost of basic cost of living and groceries and so on and so forth. So I would recommend strongly that, and we have 2 stalwarts here who are financial advisors, so you should go to your financial advisors and do this math with them. I mean,
Sure.
I personally should tell you, I had done my math at the age of 30. And I'd even said, look, I'm going to buy this brand of car when I'm
Wow.
45, and I actually did it. And I've lived with this. And I put my Excel sheet of my life well in time. Maybe because I'm in finance, I did not need, a financial advisor, but I would strongly recommend you should talk to somebody.
Tarun, let's bring you in on this. Now, help out those who are about to retire. How should they look at their options, including, of course, what the life insurance world offers?
Right. So see, I think both of these stalwarts have spoken quite well. I'll just add a little bit more color to this. They're basically two kind of multiples. So let me try to answer your question, Pat, in terms of the amount that you need to put aside. So normally there's a thumb rule of 4% or 6%, we assume. So let me try to just make it simple and say 4%. So you're saying that you're assuming 4% return forever on whatever your pot of gold that you have kept on the side. Pot of gold, I'm assuming since 25, 30, 40, you were saving. So basically going by that, 25 times, so I'll say that slowly, 25 times of what you want annually, you should have had in your accumulation pot.
Okay.
And then, because now you're not going to be earning, right?
Yeah.
So of course, Mr. Mohapatra has correctly said that we may not retire at 60, but that's something that, it varies from person to person. My father was very happy to be retired at 58 and, not bothered about working at all.
So that's what I'm saying. I want to retire at 45, 50, even earlier. But then to each his own, right?
So आपको जितना भी पैसा आपको साल का चाहिए, 25 times that is what you should aim, and then you can kick the bucket of working, and then relax after that. That's the thumb rule. I would still say, and I think Subramaniam has correctly said, that you would have to have equity still when you are in the 55s, 45s, 60s, and I'm just going by your wanting to retire early. I don't know your age, but retiring earlier. So you would have to have some kind of an equity, because inflation will not be covered by debt instruments. At the same time, covering your risk of living longer becomes at this point the most important product to have, which is your annuitization, and ensure that you do have enough pot of gold which can be annuitized. Now, if you've got a pension plan, or if you have a ULIP plan, the ULIP plan will anyways have that pot of gold. Now, please invest that straight into a annuity. If you have a pension plan, you can commute the 60%, which I said, which is available to you. So you can take that money, and you can use the money the way you want it. And the 40% up can be used for annuitization. Of course, if I was the person, I would actually not commute much, but I would put all that 100% into an annuity. Anyway, still about 2.5, 3 lakhs, and with senior citizen, and you get to be a senior citizen, the taxation is lower at this is the only income you have. So a tax benefit, of course, in annuities per se is TDS, but you will get some tax benefit available because you'll be earning a little lower.